And welcome back. In the last video, we went and we were posting a username and a password to the server, and we were getting back a response, but we didn't quite finish this request here. The things we need to do in this video are check the check the password that gets passed in and validate it with the password in the database, because we found the user but we didn't validate the password. We also need to remove the password from the response back, because you don't want to send passwords over the internet, right? Or over the network. And the third thing we need to do is then take this data that we got and encrypt it in a token that we can use later on. So let's start by doing the validation on the password. So earlier we had created a... We're going to close all others. We had created a password model here. And in there, we had this encrypt function that we had used to encrypt the password, but we also had a compare function that we haven't used yet that we used to compare the two. So what we're going to do is we're going to add that compare function right here. So let's go ahead and add it. So we'll say if the length... well, actually, first we need to grab that library, or that package. So passwords, and you go or not passwords.compare, and then the first argument of passwords.compare is the hash. So that's from the user. So we'll say we'll do it after this if statement, because we know that that's a length check, so we can grab the user off of that. So we'll say user is equal to users 0, and that is actually what we're going to pass back to here. We're going to take, before we send the data back, we need to take the password and set it to something empty, because we don't want to obviously send that back to the server. And then we need to do our actual compare check here. So we'll say if not passwords.compare, then we're going to return an error. We're just going to return the same one for right now. And we'll do user.password. It's the hashed password in the database. And then the passed password up here that they're actually passing in. So there we go. Okay. So let's go ahead and test that. So if we use a bad password, we should get this error. If we use a good password, it should just let us through and return that user data back. So let's go ahead and let's restart our server. I apologize, guys, for the cold here. And we get it back. That's a valid password. So let's go ahead and do something invalid, like test2, for example, and user password combination not found. So our compare function is working. So that's good. Now what we need to do is we need to create a JWT token for this whole packet that we're doing here. So let's go ahead and start down that path here. Let's see. Oops, yeah, we need to do JWT. Okay, and let's go ahead and open up some documentation on JWT. So Golang JWT. This is the package we're going to end up using. So one of the cool parts about this package is it allows you to take, well, there's other packages that allow it as well. This package usually allows you to take all that data and encrypt it into a JSON token that you can easily read back and forth. That's secure. So pretty dang cool. So let's go ahead and we're going to grab that. Okay. So we need to go up here and grab this guy like so, and go into our make install and add it to what we have already, like so. And then we're going to grab that value, so make install, and then it's going to be JWT, And then we need to create a JWT.go file. And then package JWT. And then we're going to import that library right there. Let's see here. We're going to need a packet to send back. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll say type, let's say token data. This is type of struct. And we're actually going to create that in the auth. We'll keep it out of here. We do need to have an initialization. You know what? I think what we're going to do instead, what I was going to do is I was going to use RSA encryption, but one of the problems with that is then when you're in a Kubernetes network, you have to pass that authentication back and forth. I think I'm going to use a secret key because we can keep that inside Kubernetes, and then all the servers will just have access to that secret inside the network. So just a second. Okay, apologize, this is cold, it's killing me. Okay, so we need an initialization function. So, well, we need a signing key first. So we'll say var sign key is a string. This is where we're going to store our actual key. Then we need to use this init function, which if you're not familiar with this init function, how it works is anytime you grab a package from somewhere else, this init function runs. So we're going to populate the sign key with data from our environment. So we'll say sign key is equal to os.get env. We're going to say, what was okay, db host, db port. Okay, so we'll use secret. We'll just call it secret. There we go. And then what we will do is that should just be a string. And then we'll come into here and we'll say, let's see, we want to create a token. So let's go ahead and do function create token. And we're going to pass in, so don't actually need the entire user data. All we need is the actual ID from the user table. So if you remember back in this login function, we actually grab all the user data from the database. So when we encrypt this, we're just going to encrypt just the ID, because you can use that to grab all the associated data for the user. So we'll do that for now. So the ID, and what type are we using for? Just int64. Okay. Let me move this down a little bit, huh? So int64. And then we're going to return back the string. This is going to be the JSON token string. So we need to say token is equal to jwt.new. And then when we create a new one, we want to take in the signing method here, which is going to be jwt.sign method. We want to use HS256, like so. And then we need to create claims. So, claims, we'll see here, claims. And we're going to create a new object here from jwt.mapClaims. Okay, and then we can populate this with some data. So first we want to populate it with an expiration date. So we're going to use this expiration date right here. And we're going to use the time library from Go. Now, and we're going to add, let's just, let's make it 7 days, you think? I think that sounds about right. We'll make it 7 days. So we'll say time.hour times 24 times 7 days. Okay, I'll make it a Unix timestamp. And then we need to create creation time. So claims was created at initial creation at time.now and then Unix. There we go. And then we want to add the user ID in here. So we'll say claims ID is equal to ID, extra space there. Okay, and now we need to attach that to the token. So claims is equal to claims. And then we want to take this token string error. So token. You know, actually, we probably should pass back an error as well. We'll do it this way: token string error, and then we don't need to use the assignment operator because we're just the instantiation and assignment operator. We're just assigning, and then we'll sign string here with that sign key. There we go. And then we need to return. So return. Okay, and then we need to create a comment for this. So create token. This creates a JSON or a JWT token from user ID. Okay. And close this down. We don't need this anymore. We don't need passwords at the moment. We did include this JWT project here, so we'll say JWT, and we'll copy over the path to the API. But we're just grabbing JWT. And then we'll encrypt the data. So after we've had this password compare here, we have found there is a user and we compared the password, so now we need to actually encrypt the data. So let's do this. We'll say JWT, we need to do token error, JWT.create, what was the name of that function? Create token from the user.id. And then we can say if error is not equal to nil, then we're actually going to just return the error to the user. We'll say it's an internal server error. So we'll say internal server error. And we'll say unable to create JSON token. Okay, and then we're gonna, for ourselves for now, we're gonna log print this error. There we go. User.id. Oh, ID. There we go. What's it complain about? Token declared not used. Yes, that's because we are going to pass it back like so. And that should be everything we need. So, we need to go create the secret as well up here. And we'll create a little log and we'll say like if length of sign key is equal to 0, we'll log out warning secret not set for JWT. Okay. And then we need to go into our environment itself and create that. So we'll say Emacs ZSHRC. We'll go to our bash and we will do JWT export secret. We'll just do something simple for now. Keyboard cat. Okay, save that. We'll source it. Now, when you're in a production environment, you're going to want to use a very complicated secret, and I'll talk about that when we get to Kubernetes. But for right now, we'll just do that for local testing. So let's go ahead and run this here, and then we will say curl test. We should get back a token back. Okay, key is of invalid type. Okay, just a second here. Oops, I forgot, guys. You have to pass in a byte. So you convert that string to a byte slice, and then you get the JWT token back. Oops. So let's go ahead and restart our server, and I'll show you this is actually working. So there we go. We get a token back. Let's go ahead and test this back to test 2. We get nothing, and of course we get a new token. You'll see this token here is different than this token here. Okay, so to recap, we went and we compared passwords. We used our password package here to make sure that the passwords match, And then we also created a token for, using JWT. So in the next video, we're going to test that token via authentication, our authentication layer. Thanks, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.